Testing, testing.
You not
Oh,
gonna
it's not
hear?
going to hear it in here,
No,
just in there.
exactly. So it's really important to talk in the microphone so the YouTube people can hear you.
So I'm going to turn that Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It's going to be a little interesting. I'm speaking into microphone, but you're not hearing the microphone projection. It's for the live feed, so hopefully you all can hear us all right in the background. I'm Michelle Lockard. I'm the Director of Product at Global Knowledge, and today I'm here with
Miguel, Amigot. I'm the CTO of IBL Education.
And I'm Paul Tocatlian, the Director of Engineering at Global Knowledge.
So today we're here to talk to you about our experience at Global Knowledge launching an enterprise solution using Open edX platform. Our customers were telling us that they deserve a better learning experience. They wanted more on-demand training. So we partnered with Open edX and also IBL to deliver just that. So a little bit about who Global Knowledge is. We're an IT and business training company. We have about 1,500 employees around the world. We have 15 offices in different countries around the world. Traditionally, our company was really focused on instructor-led training. So many years ago, our primary modality of training was instructor-led. Since then, we've offered virtual instructor-led classrooms using Adobe Connect. We're now moving to Zoom. And now in the past 2 years, we've really focused on our digital transformation, moving to on-demand training as well. And we're also delving into blended learning, mixing those modalities together. We took an initiative on at Global Knowledge to go with Open edX as our LMS delivery platform for our on-demand training. We kicked this initiative off in January of last year, and in 169 working days from the start of our first sprint to our MVP launch on September 21st, 2017, we delivered 100 courses. On day one launch, we had 7,000 enrollments from around the world across those 100 courses. And in just over 8 months, today we have 165 courses. We have 19,000 unique users from around the world, 117,000 course enrollments, and we're delivering bundles that not only consist of our own content delivered on our instance of Open edX, but also content that are delivered through some of our partner platforms as well. So think IBM, Skillsoft, Microsoft. So with that, we're selling bundles of 60+ courses. We have an ultimate IT skills bundle that we just launched about a month ago. That's a bundle of 550 on-demand courses.
So today we're going to focus on sharing our experience, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and across people, process, and technology. So we're going to kick off the presentation with our lessons learned with how we were able to launch this in 168 days from a people perspective.
So I think most importantly are the executive sponsors, especially looking at the enterprise initiative here. So we had our global vice president of digital as well as our CIO really back behind this. They attended Open edX last year in Madrid, really understood the reasoning and the benefits, how an enterprise could benefit from using open source. They were our key sponsors, our executive sponsors. It was also really important for us as an enterprise to have business stakeholders as well and business sponsorship. So what we did at Global Knowledge is we created a cross-functional team where we had our executive sponsors really leading this and evangelizing this across the company, but we had key core members who were dedicated to this from across the business as well. This was especially important for us at Global Knowledge because we used Open edX as the delivery platform, but we had to integrate that into all of our existing processes, enrollment, fulfillment, and so forth. And at Global Knowledge, we actually have 2 back office systems. We have one back office for North America and a whole separate back office for EMEA. So again, we had to integrate this into all of our existing processes and procedures. Part of this was really, understanding what open source meant to us. As an organization, it was a new concept to many across our business. Why weren't we just developing something from the ground up? So there are many reasons that our executive sponsors really helped, again, evangelize this across the business and make it a successful initiative.
So starting with the executive sponsors, we got that support we needed, alignment with the business, alignment with the strategic initiatives. The next one was to really kick off the project and really focus on the what and prioritize that. So this was the first initiative at Global Knowledge that we were, as a company, we were going to do Agile way. And a big part of that was having a product owner that could help drive the decisions. And so Michelle is going to share with us her experience as a product owner of this learning platform.
So I was the active product owner for this initiative across Global Knowledge. My background spans higher education, educational technology. So I was recruited specifically to work on this initiative to help Global Knowledge kick this off. So when I came on board, what was really important to me and what I've seen really successful across other initiatives at different companies is to have really one voice. We heard it this morning, kind of that one throat to choke. So this not only allows for leading the way, setting the vision, setting the goal, and communicating that up, down, across, sideways, all across the business. It allows for quick and easy decisions. So we had a business goal of launching this in September. Again, we started in January. So we had 169 working days to get this implemented into all of our systems and processes and have an MVP product by September 21st. So we knew kind of what our end goal was, but as Paul said, we worked in an agile way. We're extremely transparent and really were able to do this effectively because we had one voice leading the way, making those hard, fast decisions. As we went through this process, we were really focused on, obviously, the platform with edX, but also our content. So we develop a lot of our own content. We also develop content for some of our vendors as well. And we have some third-party content that we host. So a key component of this was also not only getting the platform ready, but simultaneously getting all this content ready into OLX, taking it from our existing CMS and getting it there. So not too far into this initiative, we added a second product owner who was focused on the content side. So Chris Shunke and I worked side by side, and Chris is actually has a lightning session tomorrow called Authoring Courses Outside of edX Studio, Why and How. So we've actually authored all of our content outside of edX Studio. We built all kinds of automation tools to dynamically update courses, to import them into edX and so forth.
So another special ingredient to the success and the good part was really finding an implementation partner. As we all know, OpenEdX is a very complete, comprehensive platform, complex in many ways, and we didn't want to make the honest mistakes of somebody who is just starting, given that we had some time constraints and quality constraints. So we went about and spoke to a number of the implementation partners, and what we found out, there's different engagement models. One is really to outsource the project and have somebody take over the project and deliver this finished product. The other one was a staff augmentation, where we really wanted to have a sense of ownership, a way to transition this knowledge, and over time really be able to drive it. And so we decided that we wanted to go a staff augmentation route. So after speaking with all the implementation partners, we decided to work with IBL for a number of reasons. The first one is around their responsiveness. They're very easy to contact. We were working directly with the folks that would be working with us, Miguel and others. There was a sense of authenticity, a sense of responsiveness that was very important. The second part was the experience. IBL has been working with OpenEdX for a long time across educational institutions, enterprises. We want to leverage that experience from a platform standpoint, but we also wanted to leverage their experience in course authoring for on-demand and leveraging the different modalities we have to offer it online. They were very flexible in their engagement model. As an enterprise, we had specific needs, and they were able to work with us to accommodate those needs in terms of helping us peel the layers of the onions, and them doing something, then doing the knowledge transfer, and us doing this the next time around. The other part was the organization. We wanted to find an organization that wasn't too small, but certainly wasn't too big, and really fit how we worked. And IBL met all those criteria and delivered on those expectations. So Miguel, you've worked with a lot of different kinds of organizations. How is it different working with an enterprise like Global Knowledge?
Thank you. So the first step is sort of the architectural assessment, right? We realize that Open edX for an enterprise, especially for a program that is targeting a ton of learners, is a piece of the puzzle, right? So we have to start off with an architectural assessment to determine what is the data that's going to come in and what's the data that's going to come out. Then the second main step is the knowledge transfer, right? So with Global Knowledge Initiative or others like NVIDIA's Deep Learning Institute or the Air Force and others, they can't invest in something that is going to be significant and powerful unless they have the certainty and the peace of mind that their own engineers, needless to say, of course, instructional designers, will be able to control the platform moving forward, right? And control is not about being able to access your code on GitHub somewhere or SSHing into a server, right? Control is about the knowledge. So do you know how to maintain it, right? All the functions around DevOps. Do you know how to write APIs to bridge the gap with the rest of the stuff you're looking for? And the delivery mechanism for that was a series of seminars at the beginning, right? So this is a seminar around the architecture of the platform, another about the way you write external Django apps, APIs, DevOps testing, and then continuous support through a dedicated forum, right? And that's direct access to our engineers and say, okay, how do we do this? And the purpose is to save time, right? Then there's of course production support, which even after all is said and done, and you have the knowledge, well, we augment your staff so we can be there, God forbid, if anything ever happens, right? And this entails all the work about analytics and everything else. But
all right, now we're going to go on to the next phase and talk about the process. So the journey is the destination. What does that mean? So again, for us, we had this business goal where we had to launch our platform, our MVP platform, in September, starting in January. So we started with our product roadmap, our plan of intent, mapped out over that 8-month period of time. We then broke it into 3 phases. We had a POC phase, which focused on proving out the technology. Can we really stand up our own instance on Azure? How's it going to integrate with some of our existing technologies in-house in our systems? So we had a 3-month period really focused on the technology validation and how we were going to do it at Global Knowledge. The second phase was our pilot program. So our pilot program focused on validating with our customers. So we had, it wasn't the same instance, we had a separate pilot environment. We first used it for internal UAT, so we had all of our business stakeholders, operations, fulfillment, all of that, all of our API services and so forth, test some of our processes and technology. We then did crowdsource UAT with a company called Applause. So we had hundreds and hundreds of users going through, testing the heck out of this thing from a content perspective, from a learning perspective, our videos working as properly, our transcripts working. We created our own custom video player. We're not using the out-of-the-box video player. So we tested this stuff up and down before we went to actual who our end users, our target users would be. So we had a global pilot program. We call them our early adopters. Many of them have converted to sales. We had about 1,500 global users participate in this pilot program from enterprises around the world. So that really helped us validate and refine our plan of intent, what we were going to launch in September. So we had a lot of great learnings from that, did surveys along the way, had interviews, focus groups with those customers to validate and make some changes as needed to our plan of intent for our MVP. As Paul mentioned, this was the first Agile Scrum initiative at Global Knowledge. So we had a program manager, Scrum Master, and our own internal development team along with Miguel and those at IBL as well working on this. One of the key components that we really felt helped us is we had a 100-day countdown, so kind of a T-minus plan. So our PM really helped us focus, and that was really efficient and kept our focus. As you're getting into looking at online learning, and we have a learning experience manager, we have our content folks, we have all of our partners that we're working with, it's really easy to jump and kind of do this dreaming. So this 100-day countdown plan, this T-minus plan, really allowed us to stay focused to be able to successfully deliver our end state. So from courage comes care. So what we've learned along the way is that people can handle the truth. We were extremely transparent with our process, the good, the bad, the ugly, across our business. We had processes and tools in place. We used Jira. We had all kinds of different tools where, I mean, the people who wanted access to see our Jira board and what our sprints consisted of was interesting. Paul actually had to go in and start deleting people because why do all these people need the Jira access? But we had weekly executive meetings. We had monthly global stakeholders meetings internally where we were very open and honest, showing them our progress along the way and allowing them to participate in some of these decisions so they understood why the decisions that we were making were being made and they can be part of this process as well. With the processes using Agile, Scrum, continuous delivery, and integration, we were again able to do this efficiently and focus on our MVP plan of intent. We were able to do fewer things much better. And again, continuous integration. Post MVP, we now are on 1 week sprints, continuously releasing things on a weekly basis. So the project. The project manager was really key to this. She helped us bring together this cross-functional team that it consisted of our executive stakeholders and other business and IT stakeholders from across the business. We worked together to define success up front. So we knew we had this date in September. What did that mean? How are we going to be successful delivering this MVP? We also worked very closely and engaged marketing and sales early on so they could understand, again, what is the value of this learning platform and this system and this whole experience that we are going to be delivering at Global Knowledge. So they were brought in early and often as well.
Yes, and so despite all the planning, it was still pretty much the wild, wild west. We tried our best to organize, but like with any initiative where there's new technology, new teams, new processes, but the key was learning along the way and working towards an end goal and seeing it through with the support from the entire team. So we covered people, some key considerations around that, some processes around Agile, and the last but not least is the technology to support this deployment. One of the important parts is that the Open edX platform is a critical component, but it's only one piece of a much bigger puzzle of the enterprise. We've got over 100 systems to run the company. We've got multiple back office systems, ERPs, CRMs, websites. So the key was to understand where we were going to go. And we had an end-state architecture that helped us understand what role the Open edX was going to play. Some of these other systems, again, a global infrastructure of different websites, different ERP systems, CRMs. There's a number of APIs around single sign-on, microservices, logging. There is all sorts of other systems that we need to integrate with. But what this end-state architecture allowed us to do is to decide what to refactor and when. And when we built a new system like the learning platform, how does it fit as part of the bigger puzzle? And so from an Open edX standpoint, the key value that it was delivering was providing the best learner experience, with other elements being taken out of the learning platform like discovery or commerce. And so providing the best learner experience across, as an omni-channel, across virtual, instructor-led, and digital. So the platform is intended to support all modalities over time. The second part about the Open edX was its ability to integrate with these systems and do it in a way that would scale over time. So Miguel, do you want to share with us how this approach resembles other initiatives you've done and how this end-state architecture may be different than other kinds of organizations?
Yeah, so the pattern is essentially using Open edX for the delivery, right? For the learning. When edX.org, for example, wants to have a beautiful marketing and discovery site, they don't spend their time, modifying the CSS and the Django templates of Open edX. What they do is very smart, is they put up a Drupal frontend, and they connect the single sign-on and the user interface to create an ecosystem. And that's sort of the pattern that we're seeing more and more. It's what we heard earlier in the talks, right? I mean, the LMSs by themselves, and even Open edX, as wonderful as it is not a marketing platform. Even for e-commerce and for CRMs, that's not what it was designed to do. So what we've been working on are ecosystems, right? And the ecosystems sort of bring in tailored platforms for each of the functions that we are targeting, right? And aside from e-commerce and marketing, there's also video conferencing, right? Social learning. I mean, there are many more. And this is the pattern that defines, the Deep Learning Institute of NVIDIA, Global Knowledge. The Air Force is just creating, like we said before, a learning engagement platform. So where open source comes in and where edX comes in is basically the pitch, so to speak, is you can have a learning ecosystem whose core is what edX.org uses for, I don't know, however many millions of learners we saw earlier, right? That's your learning platform. Then you can build on top of that, right? You can focus where you add value, but that's your starting point. The most important part of your ecosystem, right, the part that is actually, helping the students learn, is backed by this massive community, and it's in terms of companies. I mean, we have, NVIDIA, IBM, Microsoft, Amazon, many, but in terms of universities, there are practically, I think practically all the best universities in the world are here, right? And now the SUNY ecosystem also here. Nonprofits, the same thing. So that's what we're building on, right? Everyone focuses where we add value, but that's our common point. And that adds to the peace of mind, right? It's, like you guys, you're not going to say, okay, well, we're going to build this massive initiative on something that we can't, embrace fully, right? And give us that peace of mind. So that's where this comes in. So then what we have to do is just provide an easy way to get started, right? So we have Deep LMS if you would like to start in a hosted setting, or we can do an on-premise proof of concept, right? All with knowledge transfer along the way, so you can achieve that buy-in and help your peers understand what this whole thing is about, right? Because the pitch is, oh, we're going to have millions of learners. Like, yeah, but we have to start with something, and that something is this, minimal, risky thing.
Right. So again, open source was critical to global knowledge for a number of reasons. The first one is when you start an initiative, are you going to buy, or are you going to build? What are the other options? And certainly, buying something was not on the table for a number of reasons. When you scale, the overall cost is prohibitive. Build was not an issue. Global Knowledge tried that before. And again, it may be, it's really hard to build a platform across channels the way Open edX allowed us to do. And so at the end of the day, that open source really allowed us to get to time to market. The second one is the customizability. Open edX has templates, has APIs. There's X blocks. There's a number of ways that you can use this core platform, but extend it the way it makes sense for your business or for your institution. So that customizability was critical. The other part was interoperability. The OLX standard for these courses, yes, you can build in Studio, but in our case, that wasn't the right approach because we're building courses across modalities. So elements of instructor-led or virtual will show up in on-demand. And so having this OLX ability to export it, import it back in was critical. Another partner of ours, Microsoft, as we saw earlier today, 180 plus MOOC courses. We're bringing those courses into the learning platform at Global Knowledge. Again, because we share that same platform, it's very easiest for us to bring it into the platform and then tie it into the Microsoft back-end systems for certifications and provide a very clean, singular user experience. And so Again, leveraging is certainly one thing, benefiting from it, but the other one is also the opportunity to contribute back. So Michelle's going to talk about some of the things we're looking to do moving forward.
Yeah, so as Paul mentioned, one of the values to us going with open source and open edX is the community around this. Being able to collaborate with others who are kind of in doing some of the same things and having some of the market challenges that those like Global Knowledge is having. But then also as a learning company, being able to leverage what the higher ed market is doing as well and the learning experts there. So contributing back is something that's very important to us. We haven't had the opportunity to do it yet. We were really focused on getting a product to market. That was our #1 goal. Now that we've surpassed that and have a good cadence going of our releases, continuing to improve and iterate on our instance of Open edX, we're really looking forward to contributing back and partnering with Open edX in a more proactive way. So we can start with them on day one of some of our developments to make sure what we're building and how we're building it would actually benefit some of the others in the community. A couple examples of things that we've done that we think could benefit others in across the community are one, a video player. As I said, we're not using the out-of-the-box YouTube video player. It didn't meet our needs. Most importantly, it didn't meet some of our vendor needs around IP and security either. So we built our own custom video player using Vimeo. We have a lot of custom capabilities and a lot of protection and security around that for our IP and for our vendors' IP as well. We also built our own custom EULA XBlock, so an end user license agreement XBlock. A lot of our content or in our courses, you need to agree to an end user license agreement before you have access to the content. So we have a custom XBlock that really that allows the user to review that, accept, and then it would open up the rest of the course to that user. So there's a couple of really neat things, certifications. We're using badging. That comes out of the box, but we've made some modifications to that to allow it to meet our needs at Global Knowledge for our own certifications as well as some of our vendor certifications.
So there are maybe over 700 LMSs out there. Right? Some of them, a lot of them are open source. So one of the, if not the most important factor about Open edX is its scalability, right? And software-wise, that just means that everything is built with an asynchronicity in mind in order to be able to support, an endless number of concurrent users. All the most popular LMSs, without naming any names, but the ones that we all know, actually cap out at 2,000 concurrent users. And even, in terms of their pricing models, right? If you say, well, I only charge, $20 to $5 per student per month, maybe sometimes you can get a little bit lower than that, but after a year, that's almost $1.5 million, right? With a traditional LMS out there. So Open edX gives us sort of that scalability. And then there is another factor, which is the data, right? It's what can we expect from Open edX? And from out of the box, right? We are all familiar with the rich data that comes out of there, but there is the opportunity to build more, right? And to augment that, to literally, understand everything about the engagement and performance of our students.
Right, a couple more notes about the right stack. So again, open source is a key consideration, but the other part was its extensibility. The edX platform is architected in such a way that you can extend without modifying the core platform. So for example, we had very specific requirements about how to handle enrollments, user information that we could or could not have in the platform around GDPR and other considerations. And the platform is designed, or the edX is designed in such a way that we're able to extend the user data, extend the enrollment data, and preserve the integrity of the edX core platform to make it easier for us to move on to upgrade to the next version. So that's again another consideration. Now, last but not least, and we saw that during the keynote, is legacy. Like everybody, we had our legacy to work with, and different regional back offices, dealing with data versus APIs. So a lot of lessons learned from that as well. So again, training wheels, took the training wheels off. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So again, as a company, we had a legacy of technologies that we leveraged, like the Vimeo player, like global mentoring, so we can do live mentoring, chat with students. We leveraged a number of capabilities that we already had, that we leveraged from edX as well as from our legacy platforms.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, as Paul mentioned, we did leverage a lot of things. As you know, we leveraged our own e-commerce, enrollment, procurement, all of that. We also at Global Knowledge have a lot of other portals and front ends that allow our enterprises through an easy site portal that's customized to each of our enterprise clients, as well as another portal, which is a student kind of gateway to get to many different things. We do a lot of labs, simulations that are not only delivered internally by us, but we work with a lot of third-party vendors as well. So we looked at ways to integrate and extend to be able to leverage what we already had and not have to rebuild anything where it wasn't necessary. So that's the end of our presentation. I think we just wanted to do a quick summary on the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we're going to leave it to Miguel to talk about the good.
Oh, thank you. So it's basically our starting point for our learning platform is what edX.org is using and doing very well. And as long as we're mindful about the ecosystem architectures, then we can really leverage all the capabilities here.
And for me, I'm going to hit on the bad, and this is really about the use case. So if you look at the history of Open edX, it's really focused on a higher ed use case. You think of higher ed, you have your sessions, you go through your cohorts, you have this course that runs 3 different times over a semester. So the data and the analytics that edX is capturing for that use case is really great. As an enterprise company delivering to enterprises, the use case is much different. The data and analytics that we need to capture is very different as we're delivering it to an L&D manager or a manager who has 50 IT employees taking courses with us. So there's a lot of data in the edX tables, there's great information, but it's not doing a lot of good for our use case. So that's kind of the bad for us, and one of the areas that we're really focusing on to figuring out what we're going to do with all of this data, how we can transcribe it and make good use of it for our enterprise clients.
So I get to deliver the bad news, the ugly part. So the good news is the ugly part, there was no ugly when it came to the Open edX. We really benefited from it tremendously. The ugly part was more on the self-inflicted wounds, the things that we didn't know, that we should have known, the way we worked or didn't work well together. And I think we took all those lessons learned. We deliver on time with quality, but certainly leveraging those lessons learned is helping us moving forward as well. So any questions? Yes, sir.
How did you manage the kind of update maintenance cycle of edX, the platform, versus your release cycle? And how did you think about the processes?
Great question. So we're conservative. We're not an early adopter of the edX instances, and we tried, and it was difficult to try to keep up. So we started with Eucalyptus. We upgraded before launch to Ficus. We're still on Ficus. We're in the process of upgrading to Ginkgo. So from our standpoint, we're one release behind. But we've gone through it once before, and the process is about a month, right? And so, yeah, we're conservative, and we've got architecture. We have a way to roll it out, and it's worked out okay, but we don't want to be at the bleeding edge of the source code. Yes, sir.
More mistakes that you guys ran into? There's been a lot there. What kind of stuff?
Oh, a lot of mistakes. Oh my.
Transparency.
I think at Global Knowledge, I don't say this is a mistake, but a lot of people didn't understand what a learning platform was, what edX was. So the image across our company internally was that edX was going to fix everything and do everything. And still today, we are dealing with that on a daily basis. GDPR, our data, our infrastructure, everyone thinks that, oh, we brought in edX and it's going to do miracles, and it's only one piece of the puzzle. As Paul talked about the NSA architecture, this is just one small piece of everything. So really, I think it's educating the business internally a bit better up front about what piece of the puzzle this is and what it was and what it could and couldn't do?
One more question?
Yeah, could you talk a little bit more about what system you build your course content in and how you bring that into OpenEdX?
Yeah.
You mentioned that you didn't use the studio builder. I'm just curious to hear.
Yeah, so we have a lightning talk on that, Xyleme. Xyleme was a decision that was made a while back. Again, it's used for instructor-led, the virtual reuse of content. And you can output that in SCORM and other formats. So that was sort of the decision that was made before our time. And it's really about the reuse. What we built is a way to convert the XML from into an OLX and be able to update due to the import. The key part is, as Michelle mentioned, we have these long runs. So we don't have a session every 3 months. So we built a tool to, when we import the OLX, we can do it in a running instance. So we were basically, through GitHub and through a bunch of tools, updating the OLX in a live instance and replicating some of the capabilities of Studio, but through the tooling. And that was a key consideration.
And we also built, one of our goals as a company is to do royalty-based authoring. So using edX, and we know that edX, or Studio is well known in the market as an authoring tool. So we also built the reverse of that, where we can take edX content, our Studio content, and flip it back into Xyleme as well.
Great. Thank you very much. And then we'll take any questions offline. Thank you.
Where's the link?
That's a good question. I have the link, but I don't know like where where the put it. Maybe you can ask and you can leave it here. Do you have questions about like you're gonna use your computer to project on the screen?
I think we just tried it and it works.
Yes.
Is it completely charged?
I have the charged. Yeah, what's your name?
It's Pamela.
Huh?
Pamela.
Pamela, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So all set?
Yes, how are you? I've been on a hangout with you many times.
Yes.
Yes, okay, good. Yes, abstract technology.
Hi, I'm Jhansi, the presenter next.
Hi, how are you?
What's your name?
Lawrence McDaniel.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Yeah, pleasure to meet you. Are you with Microsoft?
Nice to meet you. Yeah. Hi.
Hi,
I'm Jhansi.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, hi.
You're from Microsoft?
Yeah, how about you?
I have my own company.
Oh, next gen. Okay, nice to meet you. Hi, thank you for being the time checker.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Happy to help.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
What time do we start?
In 2 minutes, I'm
2 minutes.
gonna have a chat.
Okay, all right. Hi.
So just to let you know, like for the camera, you have the plan start over here,
Right here?
and it's finished over here.
Oh,
So you have to stay. So I leave my phone number there too. So if they need something or something happen, they're gonna call me and I will be there.
okay, okay. Yeah. Sarah, water.
You can go inside.
Started? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll get settled in and let's get started. It's on. Okay. All right, thanks for coming to today's session. My name is Jhansi Reddy. I am here with my colleagues, Sarah and Satish, and we are from Worldwide Learning team at Microsoft, where we bring learning experiences for our employees, partners, and customers all over the world. Today, we're going to talk about partnering for success. This is the topic of our discussion, how Microsoft journey has been with Open edX and with our partners. So the approach or the agenda for today's discussion is how our vision is formulated based on Microsoft mission statement and also edX mission. And then we'll talk about partnership. When I am talking about partnership, it is the partnership opportunity that we have with edX and with our partners, and also with the Open edX extenders or system integrators. So these are the three audience that we're going to be partnering with. Next, we'll talk about innovation. So there is a platform innovation that we are doing specifically on Azure that my colleagues and I will talk about. And we'll also talk about opportunities and results. You will hear quite a bit from our testimonials from our partners that we are currently working with, several learning partners. And one of them, we just heard a great presentation from Global Knowledge, where they're using Azure as the platform to deliver learning experiences for their users. Next, the vision statement, right? So many of you may have heard our vision of our leader, Satya Nadella, and vision of Microsoft. The mission statement is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. So it is, Satya Nadella says that we stop doing useful things if we don't learn. This is the opportunity for every person to better themselves, organizations to skill their employees, and meet demands of modern workplace. So this happens to align very well with edX mission of democratizing the education and providing accessible education to everyone, right? So I'm introducing this program called Learning as a Service. And at Microsoft, we are all about acronyms. We call it LAS. And then the vision of this program is go where the learners are. So this could mean that learners can be in a remote location and who speak different languages, and they would need some customized guided experiences. And there could be learners in the enterprises and government and Ministry of Education initiatives who wanted to skill their learners. And we call this global scale with a local relevance. And then the second part of that is having modern 21st century skills. There is a thought leader called Josh Bersin who talks about how the job titles have changed in the last couple of years. Like, you would not have heard about machine learning engineer, social media curator, robotics trainer. These jobs didn't exist 2-3 years ago, right? And then now you're seeing these jobs. And then people need to be skilled on these jobs. And the way to do that at a scale is to offer online and sometimes blended learning experiences. And these are delivered in a cutting edge curricula and based on a curated learning path that we are providing, which is a job role based learning path. And all these kind of ties in together with the data, right? And data is the key for many of the insights that we can learn about our learners and their engagement. So how do you harvest this data and then make sense of this data? So this is the vision for this program called LAS. And then next I wanted to talk about partnership. Like I mentioned before, when I'm talking about the partnership, it's the partnership that we have with 3 different audiences. Partnership with edX, which started 3 years ago, and then Microsoft is a partner-driven organization. That means that we do succeed along with our partners who are offering solutions to customers all over the world. And also, there is going to be a call out to OpenEdX extenders or system integrators that many of you are in the audience today on how you can be part of this movement. Okay. So the journey started in 2015, and at the time of that conference in Boston, we had 180K course enrollments on 7 courses. And then when we moved to the next conference, which is in Stanford, what we had was 70 courses and 850K active users and 1.4 million course enrollments. So you can see the trend right there, right? And then in Spain, when we talked about, there were 120 plus courses, 1.7 active users, and 3.4 million course enrollments. So there is a big jump. And this is around the time where we started this LAS initiative, which is a partner initiative. We announced this, and then we also had a pilot program with a handful of learning partners that we worked with. And then after the pilot program is completed, we formally launched this program in around April, May timeframe of last year. And then we are really proud to be presenting to you the growth that has happened ever since then. It has gone from, I would say, a handful of partner OpenEdX instances to 163 OpenEdX instances on Azure as of today. And we are still growing, and we are projecting it to be 200 by the end of June. So what this means is that you've seen in Anand Agarwal's presentation this morning about having 1,500 plus OpenEdX instance sites, right? I would say that 10% or a little bit more than that percentage is coming from Open edX instances that we know of that are there on Azure today. So I think that is a kind of good take-home point, I would say. And then we also had big spike in enrollment. We had 5.7 million in course enrollments with around 2.67 active learners on around 180 courses on edX. So there is a partnership, that is existing partnership with edX that is happening. And then we are having this initiative to work with our partners, Microsoft partners all across the world, and having these Open edX instances on Azure. So next we'll talk about few more partnership opportunities that we have. Right now, we are offering 8 Microsoft professional program tracks. As my colleague has pointed out in the session today, we started with data science, and then we've increased it to 8 tracks, from beginner computer science tracks all the way to artificial intelligence tracks. And then recently, we also innovated on this bundle approach, where the beginner computer science track is bundled with a traditional Microsoft Technology Associate, which is MTA certificate. So you would take the training, right? And then as part of that bundle, you would go take this exam, right? And then you get your credential. So this is a innovation that we worked with edX on. Another thing I wanted to point out, which is very interesting through our analysis, is that the engagement rate and then the completion rates for Microsoft MOOCs are proven to be much higher than traditional completion rate. And we all know about the percentage of the completion rates for MOOCs. It's around 5 to 7%, right? The MOOCs that Microsoft MOOCs are around 12.5% completion rates. And another really interesting statistic that I see is that for students who enrolled in Microsoft professional program, the completion rate really jumps to 30+%, which is amazing to see. So that shows that there is some stickiness to the content, or the quality of the content, or something that is attracting the users and making sure that they are finishing and completing the courses at a better rate. So on a different note, I also wanted to celebrate our success in the diversity and inclusion space. Last year in 2017, I had the opportunity to attend Richard Tapia conference, which is a diversity in computing conference in Atlanta, along with a couple of my Microsoft colleagues. And then the beautiful thing about this is that we had students sign up ahead of time for a half-day instructor-led training. And then our own instructor who teaches a lot of our courses, Graham, he flew in with us, and then he taught instructor-led introduction to big data course. And a lot of the students who came to this course, they signed up on edX, and they signed up for Microsoft Professional Program. And then along with joint sponsorship with Microsoft and edX, we gave free vouchers to all these students, 46 students, for 3 courses that they can take on this track. So that was well received by Richard Tapia community, and I'm really happy to report that to you. Next up, we have, how does this last program work? What is this program? So this might be the question that is in a lot of your minds, so I want to kind of demystify how it works, right? So at the bottom of it is the partners. It could be anybody who decide to deploy Open edX on Azure. So that is the first step that partner would go through. And just like we heard from Global Knowledge, right? And then what Microsoft provides is content. That means that we have 160 plus courses, high quality courses that we provide to all our partners for free. And then we also have curriculum, which is a learning path that leads to a credential, in this case, Microsoft Professional Program credential. And also, we have one single place, no matter where the user starts the journey, one single place where the users or learners can receive a Microsoft credential. So that is the credential part that I want to talk about. Next, partners, right? So what do partners offer? Partners take Microsoft content. On top of that, they can add specialized content to the Microsoft content. They can also, what we've been seeing is that they can also add personalized services. You just heard about the services that Global Knowledge is providing. It is mentoring, there is a virtual consultation, there is a, they do skills gap analysis, there is coaching, sometimes they provide soft skills training. So this is the contribution that partner would make, adding these additional services on top of the content that is provided by Microsoft. And what they also do is that they can provide customized experiences. And there is a partner that we work with. What they're doing is that they provide experiences that are kind of specialized to, let's say, financial industry, like maybe financial models when they're teaching machine learning course. And what we've been observing is that partners are transforming their businesses. So one partner that I talked to, they mentioned that people do not have a lot of time. Earlier, they used to have instructor-led training courses where people would go spend 5 days, either stay at a hotel or go to a different location and spend 5 days and then take their training from the instructor. Now what they're doing is that they're doing something called O2O. That means that online to on-site. That means that they start some coursework online, and then they come to maybe, they do it for like a couple of weeks, and then they come to an instructor-led training session where they would get some mentoring, they would get their questions answered, they would get some coaching. So basically, what they're doing is that they're kind of saving time, learning at their own pace, at their own time at home, and then they're coming to a centralized location to work on some projects that are designed by these partners. Next, I'm going to talk about the learners. What is their journey, right? Learners can get either individual completion certificates. So the learner would go get individual completion certificate for Microsoft courses. And then once they get that certificate, they can also enroll into this Microsoft professional program track that we talked about, and to get a program certificate or program credential. Next up, I have customer testimonial from one of our partners, Fastlane.
Fastlane is engaged with learning as a service, also this platform as a service, for more than 2 years now. We have more than a dozen of large enterprise companies in our customer portfolio, and we help them in a digital transformation journey. Without a platform, we will not be able to be that fast and train so much people at the same time with so much quality. So it's a real game changer to use the platform. Fastlane is already an ISV. We have our offering is now in the OCP library, in the OCP catalog, so every Microsoft account manager, enterprise account manager, is able to sell the solution together with us. So they can add our offering and increase the offering to generate more Azure consumption. Fastlane has worked with all industries and all verticals in the past, but with the platform we are able now to address even governments, universities, or other public organizations to transform themselves and skill up 10,000 or even 100,000 of people. That's a huge difference.
Right. Yeah, thank you, Torsten. He's from Fastlane. I see some familiar faces here. And then next up, I wanted to talk about another success story from a company called Synergetics. They're based in India. They are the learning providers, and they were early adopters for our Open edX platform on Azure. And then they were initial pilot users. And then once they started on this journey, what they did is that they were approached by a large-scale company, in this case Wipro, which has 160,000 employees, and providing a large-scale training platform for their software professionals. And then they wanted continuous monitoring and reporting on the platform, and they chose Open edX on Azure, and then they installed an instance for Wipro, And then as of now, we have around 4,000 people who enrolled, and 1,000 of them have completed courses on that platform. I'm going to skip one more slide and then get to the content part. I'm going to invite Satish, my colleague, to talk about our content strategy.
Thank you, Jhansi. So as you see, from the beginning, from the reception to now, Jhansi was talking about content is a key highlight of this program. We provide very rich content which has videos, assessments, and hands-on lands experiences for the learners to achieve more. Microsoft, we deliver this content to make sure that it's all the greatest and latest of technologies. We update the content on a regular basis. We listen to the learners, we listen to the partners' feedbacks, and address that and make sure the appropriate changes are there, and we release them on a quarterly basis. We have around 140 courses that are available to the learning partners as of today. As we mentioned before, as a learner starts the journey, he comes to the common place, which is the central place, academy.microsoft.com, to get his certificate for an individual course there. We make sure, before issuing a certificate, we leverage the LTI modules and the grades API to make sure that the learner has really completed the course with a passing grade, and we issue the certificate to the learners. Passing on, we talked about Microsoft Professional Program. Most of the time, our team has been mostly engaged in making sure that all these courses are based on a job-based curriculum, where we want to make sure the learner has a successful journey. If you see the track, I think here is the more drill down on the professional program, Microsoft Professional Program itself, where we start from fundamentals to the core concepts and also take to the advanced concepts, and then along with the capstone, which is a hands-on experience by a learner, and then they get a credential after they complete all these flow through. While the journey can happen both from a learner perspective, they can start from edX or learning partners, as a provider solution partners, and then they can continue the journey. They can start any of these courses and complete it. Partners can play a pivot role in making sure learners, when they get to the advanced modules, where they can do all mentoring services, coaching services, skill gap analysis, and skill assessment to make sure they complete and then empower the learners to achieve more. I'll hand over to Jhansi back for completion of the partner success story.
Thank you, Satish. So I want to quickly talk about the flow that partners would go through. Very quickly, the way it works is that partner gets business approval from Microsoft, and then they would install their Open edX instance. So there are several ways to do that. They can either use the template, ARM template, Azure Resource Managed template that we've open sourced and provided, or they can work with the open source Open edX extenders or system integrators, or they can provide their own solution. But the requirement is that it has to be on Azure. And then Microsoft provides all the content to the partners, and then partner would upload all this content onto their Open edX instances. And then they would offer additional services on top of that and deliver this training to their learners. And then quickly, the learner workflow is that learner would discover the offers on the partner site, and then they enroll and complete a Microsoft MOOC, and then they get their completion certificate in one central location, no matter where they've taken their training. And then they can share this credential or sign up onto a track, MPP or Microsoft Professional Program track to complete the whole program, which is a job role based. Next up, I'm going to invite Sarao, my colleague, to talk about platform innovations that we have done as part of this initiative.
Thank you, Jhansi. I'm going to talk briefly about the platform and some of the innovations that's going into the platform as well. About 2 years ago, we ran a small pilot with the full stack. As you may know, full stack includes all of the necessary components, CMS, LMS, to ingester content, to consumer content. You can also run some of the instructor basic reports. But when we want to go next level, which is we want to take it to production, where we want to have our own employee training plus some of the BTC customer training, we can't offer with the single VM. There are critical requirements like a security, high availability. Microsoft drives for zero downtime, pretty much, right? And then we also need high reliability. Plus, we also need scalability, where you should be able to scale to support thousands and millions of learners. I'm going to go to the next slide. So this is the current architecture that we took this, full stack, deployment components, expanded that into a highly scalable infrastructure. I'll quickly go over this. If you look at this infrastructure now, this is basically we call VMSS, which is a virtual, machine, scale set, where you can scale them as much as you want, right? There are backends which also have primary and secondary, so it kind of supports all your disaster recovery, failover scenarios. It's completely locked down infrastructure, which is basically you have to use the jump box and SSH key to access it, highly secured. We also have traffic manager, which kind of routes all your traffic. We have a load balancer, which what it does is basically it kind of helps you to update your live service. Let's say a site is up and running, it's serving your live customers. Now you want to make an update, you want to change some stuff, you bring it staging in parallel to the production, and using load balancer just swap it. So there is a pretty much zero or maybe very minimal downtime that you might encounter with that. On top of that, we also provide some guidance to the. Okay, this I want to just call it field. This is exactly what we're using for ourselves for in-house. We also made this. This is basically Azure resource management template. Just we made a simple, configurable way to deploy. We made this available to our partners as well. So partners, there are many partners are using our template to deploy, OpenEdX in a highly scalable, infrastructure. And we provide guidance to the themings, some of the customization, how they wanted to do. And I want to briefly talk about, some of the customer scenarios. You had some questions, Johnny, right?
Yeah. So, sir, I was going to ask you how you got around to some of the problems that our partners faced in Asia region, especially China. So I heard that they had some problems with the Azure deployment, and then they were able to overcome. So can you talk a little bit about that? Yeah.
So if you look at the global, Azure, which kind of addresses the major, scenario of learners, around the globe. But if you look at certain regions like China, Germany, even US government, was a lot of regulations around it. For example, we have, Azure has a different cloud solution for China, which is called Mooncake. We have one for Germany, which is the Black Forest, and there's one for government also. China, if you are familiar with that, they don't have access to YouTube, and they don't have access to many of the open source libraries. And because of the firewall kind of protects everything, right? Even GitHub, I think they have a lot of challenges to access the content from GitHub. When we enabled this template, the partners from China were not able to deploy with our global template. So we took that, all these technical bottlenecks, we kind of solved that with a different solution, kind of a little bit different from the template that we provide to the rest of the partners. And we started with one partner. Now today we have about 20 partners in China deployed their OpenEdX on Azure, and it's currently growing actually. Out of 20, about 60 to 70% are actually educational institutes. So quickly go over the next one. So this is, I think, I just want to quickly touch about on the simplification part. I'll tell you why this is needed and how it's going to help. When you look at the current architecture, it has about everything is a VM based, like the back end, the front end. The VMs are like you deploy once, whether you use it, you serve the live customer or not, he's going to continue to pay. We want to kind of simplify that to using some of the platform as a services available from Azure for the backend especially. So it kind of takes away from your overhead on deploying and managing the backends. It also reduces the cost that's going to cost you to deploy and manage this whole infrastructure. I want to quickly touch upon the reporting. We created some starter template. If you have a OpenEdX deployed without having additional reporting capabilities built onto it, by default you get simple reports where you can look at individual courses. The instructor can look at individual courses and the enrollment stuff like that. If you wanted to do any insights across content, across courses, or across learners, or the timelines, right? So you need to build extra capabilities. So we come up with a simple starter template. It's a Power BI based. This can be applied on top of MySQL. It gives you pretty much all the insights you wanted to know based on the age or gender based or timelines or even across the content, across the learner things, right? So, so with that, I'm going to pass it back to Jhansi.
Hey, thank you, Sarav. So if you want more information, the one URL to note down is aka.ms/las. And this is where you find tons of information on how to get onboarded with last program, where to find information about our deployment templates. There are several videos that we made on the analytics part, Power BI, and how to do customization based on theming. So that would be a good place to visit for your resources. And then plugging the other sessions that we have. We have a couple of sessions in this conference. One is with my colleague Kunal and I. We're going to have a lightning talk tomorrow on Power BI reports. And then we have Elton from our engineering team. He's going to talk along with David on Mongo database pruning. And then we also have Satish and Kabir, who are going to be having birds of feather discussion, I think right after this, which is the API session on OAuth scopes and bulk grades API. So feel free to attend those sessions. So what I want to touch upon next are some of the results and the customer testimonials and the opportunities. This whole presentation is about partnership. Again, like reiterating how we are partnering with edX, our partners, and also system integrators, and how you can get involved. So just to highlight again, we have 163 sites, OpenEdX sites, all across the globe in 50 different countries and growing. So I want you to join this movement if you're all not already part of it. And then highlight a couple of partner success stories. There is this organization or company called Million Lights in India. And what they're doing is that they're partnering with a university called Lockard University, where they take tier 3 college graduates and they get them prepared for the skills that are needed for job placement. So what they're planning to do is they have 25,000 students that they're planning to skill up in the next 4 years. So there is an article on how they're planning to do that in this link that you can refer to. Another really good initiative that I've been seeing is with our partner Data Changers. They're based in Netherlands. And what they're doing is that this is a diversity and inclusion initiative. They're partnering with Microsoft. And there's also another organization called Technoista. And Technoista had screened 200 candidates, and they picked 24 women, and they're all going through Microsoft Azure Academy training. And then the location is this beautiful location I heard it's really good. It's an Ajax Arena, which is a football stadium in Amsterdam. And they started their training, 11-week training in April. And then after, within 1 week, 45 course completions have happened. And then one lady already got a job offer. So I thought that is something that we can celebrate and share with you. Next up, I was going to show you a quick video of Marian, who is the CEO of this company, Data Changers.
Starting with a data science track. So that was exactly what we needed. So now we could help others to become data scientists themselves. And now when a headhunter is calling, I can say, well, I have a job already. I'm not going to change, but I can help you finding people because the participants can be future employees.
Okay. So that is our colleague Steve interviewing Marian when she came to Redmond. So the next thing is call to action. How can the OpenEdX community get involved, right? So I want to encourage a lot of you to become an approved system integrator for Microsoft OpenEdX. So there is a process that you can go through to get approval for being an approved system integrator. What that gets you is that if any of our partners are looking for somebody to help with OpenEdX installation on Azure, we can point them to approved list of system integrators to choose from. And then if you are a company who is also wanting to adopt OpenEdX, and then you're considering choices of clouds or platforms, do consider Azure and see what it can offer for you. And then, as always, we are continuing to partner with edX, and we have really close relationship with the edX community, especially with the engineering team. Satish and Sarav and team are partnering with Barkai and Nimisha, who are part of edX engineering team, for getting the PRs approved and making a contribution back to OpenEdX. And then with that, I end, and I would like to thank you all for coming to the session. We are going to be here today in the evening, which is at the reception. We're going to be here tomorrow, so feel free to come reach out to us for more information on how you can get involved. Thank you very much, and I'll... I think we may have time for one or two questions. Yeah.
Sorry? The firewall. Yeah, so we actually work with the Azure team in China. So they create some sort of caching service where they can cache some of the libraries, and then they made that available to the partners in China.
Yeah, go ahead.
How extensive are the content customizations that you do, and how do you keep those, like, how does that manage when those get updated, like, on a quarterly basis? Like, how do those changes get?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So it's a hard problem. So what the cadence that we are following right now is that every 3 months we are doing content refreshes. So what we are asking the partners is that if you have any of the learners that are enrolled in current courses, have them kind of complete that run, and then you upload your next run of the courses. So that's how we are managing the content currently. Yeah, is there a follow-up? Yeah, so, yeah, sorry. So, yeah, back to your question. So they do not actually change any of the Microsoft course content itself, right? They add additional things on top of it. Let's say that you have a Microsoft course in Excel, right? They can add a project on their own OpenEdX instance to demonstrate some of the skills that they're learning in that course. So it is the added content that they're doing. Yeah. One more question, last question? Yeah.
So along the lines of adding customized content, courseware, have you thought of anything about personalization based on the sites, or do you have the impression that kind of one size fits all in terms of the courseware at each of these sites?
Are you talking about the look and feel or personalization in terms of?
The content within course content.
Okay, so that is the question that we've been getting from our partners. So again, not only the personalization, they want to share content amongst themselves, right? So is there a way to provide that? So that is something that we are looking into right now, is how the content sharing might work. So that's something you'll hear about in the upcoming sessions, maybe next year.
I think this morning, if you look, Nimisha kind of pictured the future plans from edX. I think one of the things was how the content can be shared. I think you're going to partner with edX and the community to build the solutions.
Thank you, Sarah. Are we done? We're up time. Thank you so much for coming. I'll see you.
Un, deux, test. 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 Everybody can hear you on YouTube.
On where?
YouTube.
Oh, really?
Yes. Is that okay?
Yeah.
You don't have the choice.
You mean after? Not live or?
Hmm?
Live or afterwards, you mean?
Live.
All the rooms or?
Uh,
Are all the rooms live or?
I don't know. I don't know. I just know that we're streaming on YouTube live.
Right, that's good.
Yeah, it is. So on your pants or in your pocket, what you prefer?
Pocket's good.
Yes. Cool.
Is it on? What's that? What's that? Yes, I'm talking now. Can you hear me? Hello? Excellent.
So do you have a question? Everything is good?
I think everything's good. Mm. Thank you. Oh, okay. Hi. G'day. What's that? Yeah. Hello? Yeah, I don't know. Start? Yeah.
So anyway, to get started, so this talk is about how we built a comprehensive online university. And we have David here from Decelles.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Dave McKenzie. I'm CTO of Crystal Delta. We're a software company all the way from Melbourne, Australia. And the first thing you might be wondering is this guy looks nothing like Nishant. And what happened to Nishant, who was meant to be speaking today. Nishant, his Canadian visa didn't come through, so unfortunately he wasn't able to travel here today. So at the very last minute, like yesterday, I said I'll step in and cover for him. Has anyone worked with Nishant in the Open edX community or know who he is? Yes, you do. He's a very active contributor in the community, and those that have dealt with him, they'll see that he works really hard in trying to help others and give back to the community. So he's really disappointed that he couldn't be here today. So the heading here, XenOps Take Flight, is very appropriate. It's particularly the words take flight. I travelled all the way from Melbourne with my wife and 2 kids on the plane, and they're aged 1 and 3. And I can tell you that flying 24 hours with 2 kids is a lot harder than building an online university. And has anyone heard of Crystal Delta before, or XenOps? Yes, Crystal Delta, we're a software engineering company. We build software for clients in banking, fintech, property, but especially education industry. We're passionate about education. Most of us have kids, and we really want to see the best education for our kids, and that's really how we started the company and got involved in it. So education is where we spend a lot of our time. And XenOps is based on Open edX, and it's a product that we created when we deployed to this university that we'll be speaking about today. So we're going to be talking a lot about that today. So overview, as I said, we're going to be talking a lot about the challenges of learning institutions and how XenOps digital learning platform powered by Open edX helps solve a lot of those issues that were being faced by big learning institution and in particular university. And it's built on a deep understanding of the student journey right from the marketplace and course discovery and enrolments to registration, payment, course delivery, assessments, recognition, and also assisting in next path learning and recommendations for next steps. And it can be deployed in line with the organisation and capable to deliver value from day one. And it aligns very closely with the strategy of the organisations. So as I said, XenOps is powered by Open edX and with some customizations on top of that. And we're going to look at a case study where we deployed XenOps at RMIT, or Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology. And we're also going to have a bit of a look at next steps. So if I was to sum up 4 things that made building a comprehensive online university a success, the first thing, and these are going to be themes that run throughout the talk, making complex things simple, simple solutions to a learning institution who has very large and complex problems, and using Open edX as the base. And there is no way that we could have deployed what we did without Open edX. Really understand the domain. Crystal Delta is invested in the education industry and not simply just technology. We can do all sorts of things with technology, but it's the industry insight that create relevant value for students and institutions. We always focus on the student and the institution. The organisations come up with endless amounts of ideas, but then being able to pick which ones we focus on and deliver it in a feasible roadmap back to the client. Otherwise, you can get caught up on doing too many things. And we have an important theme at our company, extreme ownership. We own a problem until it's solved. We never give up until it is done, and we never pass the blame or the problem onto someone else. First of all, I want to talk about the challenges of learning institutions. And there's a few key themes: learner experience and satisfaction and success around learner experience. I want to talk a bit about lifelong learning, which has been a big theme about the conference so far, and profiling users and getting engagement from users and learners. And then how can we scale an organisation? So they're the main things we're going to be talking about. So for learner experience and satisfaction and success, how do we use digital to create richer learning experiences that elevate the student journey and ensure satisfaction along the way with successful outcomes? And how do we measure this in a timely way? In Australia, we currently rely on a survey called the Student Experience Survey. Last year was completed by 148,000 undergraduate students and 58,000 postgraduate students across universities and non-university higher educations. It's intended to help both the higher education institutions and also the government improve learning and teaching. And it reports on multiple facets of student experience. The survey is funded by the Australian government and administered by a research centre, the Social Research Centre. But any insights that are gained are often way too late. So it doesn't actually help out the students that are undertaking the survey. There are indications that the indications that a student is struggling are only learnt way too late. It's common practice is to survey the students, which is inadequate and certainly not really meaningful. Another challenge is that a student has to decide quite early on, maybe from the age of 15, about what their career or chosen career path is going to be. And often this career decision is influenced by parents or other outside factors. So then the student is then stuck maybe doing a degree for 3 to 6 years that really, they're not really getting any feedback on whether this is the right thing for them. They just blindly go on and do the degree. And it's a long time doing that 3 to 6 year degree before they're actually in the workforce in their chosen career and potentially earning income. Which what leads into lifelong learning. Currently, we have the anonymity of students who, once they complete their study, fall into the bucket of anonymous alumni once they finish. When students leave, they seem to have no connection back to the institution they graduated from. They can't even log into any previous systems, and they can't see any updated course content as it evolves, and are basically lost to the university, never to be seen again. But with richer profiling of students, there is an active pool of participants who can be offered further education that is relevant to their qualification and interests at the right time in their career. The same profiling affords an opportunity to create a rich community with relevant engagement around learning activities and outcomes, supporting relevant and timely interaction between students, faculty, mentors, employers, and alumni. So the importance of a digital profile so that a learner can be better understood and become a member of a digital community. Most physical students experience anonymity before they are enrolled and then transition to alumni after a long course. There needs to be a more finely granular, engaged form of learning activity delivery. For lifelong learning, there is no concept of alumni. There is always something new to learn. So using Open edX's goal of continuous learning, as the learner progresses through their career, a student doesn't stop learning when they graduate. If we talk about scale, traditionally academic institutions have monolithic technology and physical campus constraints where they don't have enough seats or enough staff to teach, so they can't scale the learners. So this is what we're talking about when we talk about a comprehensive university, in considering all aspects of student experience as part of the education journey, with the analytics and insights to understand and optimize, improve this experience in an operationally efficient way. So a comprehensive university is one that can scale, provide student satisfaction, student success, and create a pathway for lifelong learning. So Crystal Delta and Xenops. How does Xenops address these challenges? So as I said, built upon Open edX Foundation to become a full service digital learning management platform. And Xenops goes beyond isolated interactions to cohesively and comprehensively consider, enhance and support the granular and global issues of learner experience. It creates learner satisfaction and success and supports lifelong learning at scale. And what are the key features that a comprehensive online university requires? The first thing is obviously we need to attract enrolments into the course. So being able to have a marketplace where we can get students to discover the courses that are on offer, and potential learners can then decide whether they can then enroll in the course. So discovering and then also enrolling in courses. Obviously payments, university or institution can't survive unless there's payments. It'd be good if we could all do it out of goodwill, but unfortunately we need some way to pay it. So an online payment integration is required. We really want to have a really rich user content experience and a really strong LMS and a really good way to create all the content as well. Video and a rich content experience, online content experience is key to online learning. And also what we're seeing, not just with MOOC platform, but sort of the next evolution where universities meet MOOC platforms is assisted learning as well with mentors. So providing a platform that's easy for mentors to use, not just learners. Obviously, we need to be able to assess students and on their progress and be able to grade them, and then give recognition on what they've achieved, so certificates or a credential or badge or something like that. And since we're online and we're getting all this data, then analytics is a key part in how we can get that information out, and we can then do a lot more things with that information, which we'll go into. And also it's got to be accessible to as many people. Just like a building these days needs to be accessible to people like in a wheelchair or something like that, a site like this needs to be accessible to as many people as possible. Those people with disabilities or mobile platforms or people in remote areas. So how do we achieve satisfaction and success? If we have a really rich learner designer tools with versioning and digital asset management for rapid and rich content creation, then that's definitely going to help. If we have an enhanced profile so that we can then start to learn about the learners, and then we can then do things based on that knowledge. So once we know who you are and understand more about you, we could match you to a chosen profession that maybe suit you more, or offer a next course, or then even adaptive learning, we could offer you, content in a way that suits your learning styles as well. Advanced real-time behavioural and transactional insight and tools for proactive intervention. You could predict when and identify when a student's at risk, and then start to intervene and maybe put in particular measures to help that student. And lifelong learning. So enhanced profiles. So if you consider somebody might start out, they might want to be a lawyer, or they think they want to be a lawyer, but then they might change their mind. We want to be able to detect early on that they've changed their mind, and then offer them courses that are more relevant to them as they progress through their life. So we want to constantly be monitoring the intent of the person, and if that intent changes, be able to then offer them something that's more relevant. And of course, the solution has to be scalable. It needs to be deployed on best-of-breed technology that enables the scale. The system to scale is the user volumes and data volumes scale. With automation and workflow, a lot of business processes also need to scale. So we need to see where there's operational overhead and automate those pain points as well. And also multi-modal learning. As much as the student would love to have a tutor dedicated to them 24/7, That's obviously practically impossible. So therefore, delivering a course via multimodal experience is essential. So offering like face-to-face, a mix of face-to-face or video sessions or hangouts, as well as pre-recorded video, as well as rich content, both online and offline resources as well, in order to scale the learning delivery team. Obviously, it has to be highly secure as well, and single sign-on as well. So if you look at a case study, I'll give you, who's heard of RMIT University in Melbourne? Not many people, one. I'll give you a little bit of background of RMIT because it's sort of relevant to what they did in this case where we deployed Open edX. RMIT is located in Melbourne. I went there. It's founded in 1887, so it's been around for about 130 years. It's got about 83,000 vocational and higher educational students, and its revenue is over $1 billion, around $1 billion US, so it's one of the most wealthiest universities in Melbourne or in Australia. It's rated 5-star university by the Quarterly-Simmons ratings, and it's ranked 16th in the world for art and design. And in the universities, the top 50 universities under the age of 50, it got its university status in '92. So it's ranked 16th in the top universities under 50 years old by the QS ranking. And by the Times Higher Education, it's in the top, it's 98th in the top 150 unis. So RMIT is quite a big university, as you can see. And Apple were looking to partner with a university, and they could have chosen really any university in the world. And Apple chose to partner with RMIT to deliver a co-branded training course on Swift iOS programming. If you don't know, do you know what Swift iOS programming is? Swift is the language that you code for Apple devices on, whether it's desktop or mobile devices. And they wanted to have this campaign where everyone can code. So anyone from novice coders aspiring to be iOS developers, they wanted to not just offer what the free material is, but they wanted to have a co-branded with a large institution with their university lecturers and the content all co-created with the university, and offer that course with a credential at the end. And they offered a program of 5 courses that you could take. So you could either buy it as a program, a bundled program, or you could take the first course really, and then go through the courses. So they approached RMIT and they partnered together. And the learning designers created all the content in partnership with Apple. They created a highly dependent learning model as well, with multimodal learning support, where you have a course manager, course instructor, mentors, obviously collaboration with the community, and rich online content. And RMIT wanted to deploy this not as a SaaS model, but wanted to deploy that all on their own infrastructure, well, in the cloud, and integrate back to university systems. So this was all a vision. The only problem was they didn't have a platform to deliver this capability. And it was just 6 weeks until a high-profile media campaign launch, where the Vice President of Apple, Lisa Jackson, who reports to Tim Cook, the CEO, was coming to Australia to launch this platform in front of the live TV cameras and reporters. And with all the baggage of dealing with the university as well, which has got large, complex systems already, this was going to be very ambitious and almost bordering on stupid. And we were the bunnies that signed up to create and deliver the solution. So what were some of the considerations along the way? So with all the things we've spoken about the university wanted for this platform, with a 6-week timeline, we had to consider the business impact of every decision. what could be handled by the university now and what could be done later. So XenOps and Open edX offers a full suite of capability across the learner life cycle, and where Open edX is going, it aligns exactly to where the university was going, so it was really a really good choice to implement Open edX. So we need to consider what was going to deliver value from day one and get RMIT online up and running in a way that could be supported from day one, but then also scale and grow. We didn't want to just deploy something that didn't work and fell over straight away, or couldn't grow when the next courses and next volume of users started coming on. So we had to create an implementation roadmap that was really targeted at providing value along the way, so that we understood the university constraints and opportunities while making sure the underpinning technology was implemented in a robust and sustainable way that could support the longer term growth and ambitions of the university. So some things that we didn't go live with in day one was, or some things we did was integration with some of their marketing tools. They really, because it was such a big campaign, they wanted to have integration with their marketing tools. And conversion tracking when leads came through. But doing a full CRM for that sort of thing, we didn't implement day one. A student support ticketing system, they have a student support team that deals with all the support issues with the students. We didn't implement the student support ticketing system from day one. That's something that could be done later. And a full CMS so that content authoring of the marketing pages wasn't really a priority day one. And so these things came a bit later, and that was okay. Operational support. So the MOOC platform, it's sort of not really designed for hand-holding students through the learning cycle and assigning mentors and that sort of thing. So, and scaling some of those processes were things that evolved and came a bit later. There's some things that we thought about building from day one because we were going live with the program, but things are coming in, obviously, future versions of Open edX. So things like the program functionality and product bundling and partial refunds. These things are coming in Hawthorne release, so there were things that we could see in the Open edX roadmap that we didn't really need to implement from day one, and hopefully when the Hawthorne release comes, then we can switch to those sort of things. And then once we put in this shiny new platform, there was a lot of internal, all their internal teams like the learning design team, student experience team, course managers, finance team, and all their internal technology teams. They didn't know how to deal with a new platform like Open edX. So there was a lot of learning and teaching that we had to do to the university to get them up to speed with a new platform. So the solution was to commission XenOps, Open edX, and integrate university systems in order to deliver the Apple Swift training course for the worldwide launch. It was a managed and hosted service. We developed a bespoke presentation layer for some of the areas and configured the actual course creation whilst we were standing up the platform. The actual course content was being developed in parallel. So the outcomes, it was 6 weeks from the day they wanted to go live to the where they thought about the idea to the go live and when students were actually enrolling on the platform. And since then, we've had 0 downtime, which has been amazing, and it really does speak volumes to the architecture of Open edX and how highly available and scalable that it is. And coming from a banking, working at a tier 1 bank when that was everything to them, and I was really surprised that an open source product was pretty much out of the box able to have all those things as well. It is quite complex, Open edX, for newcomers. I think we underestimated exactly how complex it was. Just to know all the parts that need configuring. and the community was really helpful. We leaned on the community heavily to get help, and they were really awesome in assisting us. The second course that they went live with was blockchain, and they partnered with Accenture, and they were the first university in the world to offer blockchain as a course. And again, another big PR marketing campaign was around that, and that course sold out, just like the Apple course, sold out in days. And now they're offering a new digital transformation set of courses as well. So yeah, the system had a lot of high media profile and a lot of users accessing the system, at least the marketing pages anyway. So the fact it didn't fall over was really awesome. And what was also quite funny was that the course creation took more time than it did to stand up the platform, which I thought was pretty good. And also the length of the course was longer than it took to stand up the platform as well. So yeah, it's pretty amazing how you can get up and running with an LMS so quickly. This was in the media. There were hundreds of millions of people that the PR campaigns went out to, and the media campaign launch. And these are just some of the publications where you could see it in. These were the blockchain ones, and there were hundreds of places, other media outlets that you could see it from. So what next? Continue to help institutions recognise and realise the value of integrated digital learning experience management platforms with cross-functional processes and empowering innovation. Working with clients to develop bespoke implementation plans to create value from day one and to feasibly realise the longer-term benefits of the platform. Adjusting metrics and measurements to support learner journeys, not just touch points, and continue to develop XenOps aligned with Open edX community releases and contribute back to the Open edX community. And so, in summing up, what were the differentiators in getting an online platform up and running in 6 weeks, making complex things simple, focusing on the customer and the business first, and delaying things that could be done later, investing and really understanding the domain and the sector, and the extreme ownership philosophy in making sure you own the task and get things done. And so that's how we were able to spin up the environment for the customer, and now they're up and running, and yeah, really enjoying the platform now, and the customer experience and feedback has been really amazing from all the students. So that's it. Any questions? Or? Yes?
I was just wondering how you arrived at Open edX's...
Yeah, there was a choice of, there was about 10 LMS systems that were evaluated at the time. Open edX, like with that lifelong learning, it really resonated with the university, and just the style of teaching as well. They have at RMIT this ABLE framework, the activity-based learning ecosystem. Aligns very well to the way that you actually create courses in Open edX, and that learning sequence idea that Open edX has aligns very closely with their ABLE framework. The fact that it's open source and you can customize it, they had big ideas on where they want to take the platform. So yeah, the other ones that were evaluated, they weren't even anywhere near what Open edX can provide for an online university. Yeah, there was a big list of things, but they were the main things. Salesforce, yeah, that's in at the university. So yeah, initially we didn't do that day one. It's something we've been working on since then. But yeah, their email and marketing tools, Google Analytics and Campaign Monitor for marketing campaigns and those sorts of things, we put integration in. The CMS, we're using Drupal. Again, we didn't use that day one as well. It's something we put in after. Yeah, and that really the marketing page, they're more for the marketing pages, not the actual creating the course content, but the about pages, the marketing pages. Yeah. Yes?
What future technologies or advancements are you most looking forward to?
Definitely that program bundling functionality. I mean, that's key to the way they market the products they're trying to sell. They bill for all the products they're going to sell. Currently, what they do at the moment, we create a course for the program, and all the students enroll in a course, and then we have to like manually. There's a team that operationally move them throughout the courses they're meant to be in, and it's an absolute bit of a nightmare. So the program functionality is going to be really good. Also the video, the stuff around video that's coming as well, that's going to be awesome as well. Yeah. Yes?
So everything's fully online?
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you have plans on like maybe doing anything blended?
Well, they do video sessions, like Zoom sessions, quite a lot. So every week a mentor will take their cohort on a Zoom session, and that gets uploaded as well. They do it, it's actually a real course, so it has a start date and end date, and you must submit everything in that time. It's not like fully self-paced learning. Yeah, there wouldn't be any face-to-face. They may bring it into the university, but it's not on their plans at the moment. I think they're just trialling unique learning experiences on this platform at the moment. Yeah, but it'd be interesting to see if they took it face-to-face. I don't think so.
I just found like over the last few years of talking to people who wanted to, or talked about
Yeah.
doing like universities in OpenEdX.
Yeah.
The question comes up, like, how do we facilitate learners in other cities for the face-to-face stuff?
Yeah.
And in terms of like the business model, or just how you do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're using Canvas at the moment. They just switched from Blackboard to Canvas. So all their face-to-face learning is using Canvas. Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see, yeah, if you could do OpenEdX. Trying to think of if there's any issues that you would see. Yeah, it'd be interesting to trial. Any other, yes?
An addendum to the vendor discovery question. So on your list, is there anything that OpenEdX could not do out of the box? And then how do you solve for that?
Yeah, initially, like that mentorship and like just being able to grade assessments and that sort of thing was quite, you wouldn't know when, like if you've got a cohort of people that you're grading assessments for, you can't actually just see, oh, who submitted their assignments now. So we had to add in sort of functionality like that. So it was really aimed at hundreds of thousands of people taking the course, not like 20 people taking the course. So yeah, that was the main thing, and some operational things as well. We use Slack, so we integrate with Slack as well. So the discussion forums are out of the box OpenEdX, but then improving that with Slack forums as well, and yeah, video integration, so it integrates with YouTube, but we use Zoom for live sessions, and then getting those Zoom sessions back into OpenEdX, you have to manually convert them to YouTube and put them back in. So.
Do you integrate them all in that 6 weeks period? Or?
Some things were, but some things after, yeah. I've been asked to stop. Yeah, okay, yeah, you can just find me anyway and we ask some questions. So thanks for listening, thanks for coming along. How are you? How are you? Oh, Nishant told me about you.
Yeah, I was looking forward to meet Nishant.
Yeah,
He told me.
he said you are the nicest guy he's ever dealt with.
Oh, thank you. I had a lot of interaction with him.
Really?
Last year or year and a half.
Really? Yeah, he told me to come and find you.
Okay, well, he told me that to come and find you.
Oh, what did he say about me?
That you were replacing him today, that you were very nice, taking
Yeah, it was like yesterday.
And one day I have to go to Melbourne.
Yeah, you should come.
For the Grand Prix.
Yeah, we'll get my contact and yeah. Where are you from?
I'm from Montreal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ah, excellent. Yeah, well, nice to meet you.
So there's people who want to ask you questions, I'll find you around.
Yeah. G'day, how are you?
John Zornig, University of Queensland.
Oh, really? Yeah, awesome.
I was quite surprised to hear about the fact that RMIT ended up using OpenEdX. Because they're in touch with me 6 months ago.
Oh, who was it?